Greetings, my brothers and sisters. During this year of St. Joseph, remembering the 150th anniversary of St. Joseph as patron of the Universal Church, I'm Sister Fran Maher, a member of the St. Louis Province leadership team. Welcome, people of God, called to live in faith and love. Welcome, friends of the Sisters of St. Joseph, serving the dear neighbor. Welcome, companions on the journey of justice and peace in our world. Welcome, one and all. We gather to bless, thank, and honor each of you for your loving service to all people. So let us begin, as always, with the sign of the cross and Pope Francis's prayer to St. Joseph. In the name of our Creator God, who called us into being, and the Son Jesus, who became one with us and taught us how to live, and the life-giving Spirit, who renews our world. Amen. Hail, guardian of the Redeemer, spouse of the Blessed Virgin Mary. To you, God entrusted his only Son. In you, Mary placed her trust. With you, Christ became man. Blessed Joseph, to us too, show yourself a father, and guide us in the path of life. Obtain for us grace, mercy, and courage, and defend us from every evil. Amen. And now I'd like to introduce Sister Donna Gunn, one of our sisters who works in the Mission Advancement Office.
I join my welcome to Sister Fran's. While you are wherever you are, maybe even in your pajamas, I'm standing here on this historic property where our sisters first landed when they arrived from France back in 1836. From then till now, we have tried to read the signs of the times so our ministries are always relevant. Perhaps some of you best remember us from those days when the Spirit called so many women religious to help build this American church by being in classrooms, hospitals, and all kinds of social services. Today, our consistent question is, now that we've helped form so many wonderful people of God who also want to be about the good news, what are we called to do in these times? All of us recognize this past year has been difficult at best. In the face of so much dying, each of us must thank God for our simply being here. We've survived. We sisters feel we have not only survived, but have come out on the other end with greater energy and purpose. We have come to appreciate yet again that life is all about time. What do we do with this time? What is important in these times? Where do we want to put our energies and passion now? Each of our honorees tonight remind us that there is such a wealth of partners out there doing the gospel. They, like each of you, are good news in these troubled, chaotic times. All of you remind us, Sisters of St. Joseph, that this is no time to be complacent about our past or to wallow in memory. There is too much to be done, too many needs to be filled, too much hunger to be satisfied. We need to get on with the mission now, with the urgency and passion these times demand. Every day as we pray, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven," we are reminded of the old sister who became frustrated with all the highfalutin theological talk, and she turned to her sisters and said, "Damn it, just do it." We Sisters of St. Joseph recommit ourselves to doing it. We commit to searching for those places where we can best be a healing presence for our planet, for the most vulnerable among us, and for all who simply ask for human dignity and peace and justice in the here and now. Each of you joining us tonight is a reminder that together we can make God's hopes for this world real and possible. It is now my privilege to introduce Richard Kranes-Rutz, the Executive Director of our Mission Advancement Office. Richard's creativity consistently helps us respond to new ways God is challenging us women religious in this century. With new partnerships and a new sense of opportunity, we Sisters of St. Joseph have only just begun.
I want to add my welcome to Sisters Fran and Donna, and thank you both for being with us as we celebrate 4 individuals who have consistently stretched beyond themselves to bring Jesus' good news to a world so much in need of hope. Sarah Jackson, MarySue Rosenthal Gee, Father Gerald Waris, and Dan Winkelmann. They actually received this honor last year, but with the pandemic putting everything on hold, we are doubly pleased to honor them tonight. This year's waiting has brought us to an even deeper awareness of what makes each one of them so special. But before I introduce them to you, I want to remember all of our past recipients listed in the event guide. These individuals, couples, institutions, or even programs have inspired us by their Joseph-like actions. Like Joseph, they have dreamt of a world that focuses on God's hope, and then, like Joseph, sometimes working in the shadows, they have set about making those hopes become real. Tonight, we add to our list of honorees these 4 inspiring individuals. Rather than learning about them through words, we want to give you a firsthand experience of how they bless the communities they serve. We invite you to meet them in their workplaces and hear from those whose lives they have touched.
I met Sarah through Sister Jean. Sister Jean invited our associates in Denver to a group called Communities in Common. Sarah was one of the speakers, along with attorneys who help people at the border.
Sarah was immediately involved without even knowing who we were and what we were about.
For the first time in my life, I met people who were really affected by our immigration policies, and I knew it was an inhumane way to treat people, and I wanted to do something to reunite families that were suffering from immigration policies.
Being at the border, she saw how people were being treated, and all they were doing is seeking asylum. And she saw her brother and her dad and her mom in those faces. And so that was what spoke to her heart.
I started researching different nonprofits and organizations and people in the city that I lived in that were playing a part to relieve some of the suffering that was happening. And I found out about a hospitality home called El Refugio, which is in Georgia. The concept is simple. You have a home, you have an extra bedroom, why let it go to waste? Open up your home and allow folks who need a roof over their head to have a roof over their head. And one of the things that I'm so proud of at Casa de Paz is any immigrant leaving the detention center or any family coming in from out of town that needs a place to stay is welcome here. You don't need to have ID. We don't run a background check on you. If you need to stay here, you're welcome.
Unbelievable that a woman who is working full-time would open her house to people to come in that way. It was just, all I could do is shake my head. But again, it just proved how I saw our charism working through her without her even knowing it. And that's the beauty of neighbor to neighbor.
About a year and a half after I started Casa de Paz, I completely lost my faith in God, because I was around so many people who were suffering in such deep, deep ways. I saw mothers wailing outside of the detention center, screaming their child's name, and they couldn't go inside to see their child because they didn't have papers to show who they were. And I just made the conclusion that, well, there's no God, because the God that I believe in couldn't let this happen. And actually, the guest staying at Casa de Paz renewed my faith.
It's an affirmation for us of our charism, which is to serve the neighbor and to be a neighbor to a neighbor. And that's what we saw in her.
I truly believe that when we open ourselves up to doing what our faith commands us to do, welcoming the stranger and entertaining the strangers, we have entertained angels without even knowing it. And that is heaven on earth.
She truly is a woman of faith who is truly seeing Jesus in those that need our help.
She is living our charism, and she is, in her very life, wanting to do God's will to help those who are less fortunate, and does it without a show, without any kind of pomp and circumstance. And we associate with that.
This gift and this award is something that on those hard days where I just feel overwhelmed and discouraged, I'll be reminded that it's not just me. It's way bigger than just Sarah. There are people all over the place that care. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Jackson here in Denver, Colorado, and I want to say a big thank you for my award. I am just very honored to accept this and celebrate the families that we have been able to reunite at Casa de Paz who have been released from the immigrant detention center. And I know on the award it says, in honor of your life-altering generosity, but truly I believe the people that have altered their lives are the immigrants who come to the United States seeking safety and peace and happiness for themselves and for their families and their children. And so I wanted to read a couple of words from them directly to you. So I'm going to put my award down and I am going to pick up my phone, and I have some of those messages from them here on my phone. So these are thank you messages from immigrants who have been released from the detention center and have stayed with us at Casa de Paz, and we've reunited. All of you outside do a lot. When I have no hope, you give me strength to continue fighting for a better future for my family. Thank you for your kindness, help, compassion, and especially for the love that is in your hearts. And the last thank you says, if the world were as all of you, it would be a perfect world. We have reunited 3,243 immigrants from 79 countries. And the work continues. And I just want to again say thank you so much for this award and your support. And I'm very grateful to be creating a better world for all of us to live in together. Thank you.
MarySue has a quiet strength about her, I think. Probably a combination of things. She's kind. She's patient, very generous, very creative. She went to our St. Joseph Academy in Kansas City. That's how she met us. And then after high school, she went to a community college in Kansas City to receive her radiology technologist degree. And it was after that she joined us here at the Mother House. She went through our postulate novitiate and decided that this really wasn't her calling.
The sisters really being the strong women that they are and always moving toward profound love of God and of community, I really wanted to join that. And so I did enter the Sisters of St. Joseph. And to be honest, they still live in my heart. I still feel like I'm a sister of St. Joseph. I just live out differently now.
she doesn't hesitate to tell you that those years through the novitiate were fundamentally very important to her and transformational in terms of her development and who she is today. You know, it's interesting because a friend of hers in high school and grade school, a fellow who's still in Kansas City, a little bit before that time, they were talking, and he had contracted HIV, and they had been very close. And I think she was looking for kind of a way to do something, and I think she found it.
I looked here in St. Louis of where I could do something for HIV. And a friend of mine took me to food outreach. And what food outreach is we provide nutritional support for men, women, and children living with HIV/AIDS or in the treatment of cancer.
When a friend of hers told her about this group of folks that were cooking for their loved ones who had been living with HIV and AIDS, and that really attracted her. So actually, she started volunteering as she was working and volunteered for 8 years before she got onto staff.
And the director at the time, which was Mark Utterback, asked me if I would join the staff as the director of operations. So I decided that that's really where I was being called to do. And so I quit my job as a radiology technologist at the St. Louis Orthopedic Institute and started there full time, and I was there for 20 years. So I just love food outreach so much and the work that we were doing, that it made such a difference in so many people's lives. When people who are living under 100% of poverty level, when they're not getting food to help them take their meds, they need that. And so the mission was so profound in helping them.
I think they probably serve more than 13,000 people. And it started just as HIV/AIDS. Then they did somewhat of a pilot study with Siteman Cancer Center and Washington University. And it was then when their board unanimously decided that we needed to also serve the clients that were suffering with cancer and going through treatment.
Because of my love for those sisters, I take this as a really, really great honor that they're recognizing this, and I can't say enough about that.
Although she decided not to join us, she's never really left us, because what she took with her was our charism, which is serving the dear neighbor without distinction. And I think she does that in her personal and her professional life.
You know, they're a part of my heart, and I would never want that changed at all. So at heart, I'm still a sister of St. Joseph. You know, just living out it differently.
She's one of those, not in the limelight, doesn't like the spotlight, but is always there and always doing, kind of behind the scenes. And I think those are the people that we need to bring forward and talk about and let people know what they do.
It's just a really honor that they feel like I'm doing what their mission is, and that's a great honor.
Thank you so very much. I am incredibly humbled by this award. I believe there are two truly life-changing times in my life where have brought me to where I am today. First was the years in the novitiate. And in the words of the late, great Lynn Cooper, it was a genuflection. But it would be a genuflection that would last a lifetime. It was there that I internalized the CSJ charism to serve the dear neighbor without distinction. Second was when I learned in 1991 that my closest childhood friend, John, was diagnosed with AIDS. That same year, a friend introduced me to Food Outreach, an organization founded for friends, cooking for friends with AIDS. For me, it was the perfect blend of charism and mission. I am amazed that I had a job for 20 years where every day I woke up and knew why I was going to work. Making life easier for even just one client was rewarding. I will always carry the CSJ charism in my heart to serve the dear neighbor without distinction. Thank you so very much for your support of Food Outreach. And again, thank you for honoring me with this award.
When I was first asked to share some reflections about Father Jerry, I thought, golden opportunity. Actually, I knew about Jerry long before I ever met him. He and my brother are very good friends. And relax, Jerry. I'm not going to talk about your golf game or about any of your nicknames. What I want to talk about is why I think you are a fabulous person to receive this award.
Jerry is very generous. He's very prayerful. He's a man of justice, and he cares about people.
I've spent most of my adult life here in Kansas City as a priest in the Diocese of Kansas City, St. Joseph, and I've served in 5 different parishes here.
If you're in Kansas City, you might find him working with men and women who have just gotten out of prison. He serves on the board of Journey to New Life. He lives at the atriums in the condos. He celebrates Eucharist every Sunday for the people that live there, and he takes up a collection. He takes that money that he collects down to Journey House, and they use that money for odds and ends. Journey House is underneath that umbrella of Journey to New Life, and Journey House provides housing for women who have just gotten out of prison, and those women live with our sisters and Georgia Walker, and while there, they are in classes, they find jobs, and then they move out.
It is amazing. It's amazing how could you not fall in love with what this generous gift that these people, how could you not fall in love with that?
You may find Jerry inviting parishioners to accompany him to El Salvador, where he builds homes, builds schools, and has helped educate hundreds of children.
The church wanted to help the people in Central America, and so I don't know exactly how that happened, but he was the leader in that.
My work in El Salvador began in 1988. I knew about Archbishop Romero being assassinated while saying Mass, and they asked me if I'd be part of a delegation in 1988. I was taken aback by that request, and I tried to talk myself out of it. I tried to talk people who would talk me out of it, and finally I decided that maybe it would be a way for me to serve God in a way that I hadn't planned on.
Oh yeah, he's still going to El Salvador, and he's still bringing people with him. And then they get enthused, and they tell their friends, and then those other people want to come. So, and the other thing that he's done in El Salvador is empowered the people. So when the time comes that he can't go to El Salvador, it will carry on.
We met such courageous people, and people that never gave up dreaming and hoping for a better life. And because of their blessing upon us, they've taught us so much about how to have faith and live your faith with great courage.
I think he's given them hope. I think he's helped the people in Kansas City recognize that they can make a difference and that they have a responsibility to help make a difference. That many of them have received much, and now it's payback time. It's give back time. It's live out the gospel time, And so, and I think for the people of El Salvador, they're given hope. He doesn't think of himself as making a difference, and he does make a difference in so many ways, really. He's a role model to lots of us, and he does it with joy and a sense of humor, and he's just nice to be around, really. I'm grateful to call him a friend.
To be honored by the Sisters of St. Joseph is humbling in that, in the sense that they found what maybe little I've been able to contribute to help them in their mission. And if they felt my support, and if that's what this means, then I feel blessed by this. I certainly feel blessed by the honor that they bestowed upon me because of who they are, not because of who I am. I'm very honored to receive this wonderful award from the Sisters of St. Joseph and their community. In my early years, I was assigned to St. Joseph's Hospital and worked with the Sisters of St. Joseph in Kansas City as assistant chaplain. So in my years of ordination, I've become very close to many of the members of the community. A special treat for me is that I came from the city of St. Joseph, our patron saint, and to receive this honor is very humbling and very special to me. I'm really sorry that we weren't able to do this in person when I had received the news of being a recipient of the award. I also learned of the wonderful mission and work of Sarah in Denver, MarySue and Dan in St. Louis and surrounding areas. And I really wanted to meet them and hear their story in person. But that, because of the COVID, that wasn't able to happen. But we're together in spirit. Let me just say this about the Journey to New Life. The real recipient of this award should be, in my opinion, Rita Flynn, a woman who has, for the last 20 years that I know of, has spent her time in helping people who come out of prison and helping them find a place. She and her husband 6 years ago opened a storefront on Troost Avenue, enlisting in the help of Sister Rose and Georgia Walker and others. It began what became a small mom and pop operation that's expanded into a mini corporation. The many people that they've helped, it's amazing to me, and a grace moment to see such dedicated women who have enlisted me just to be part of the mission, and what a joy it has been for me. So I think the award really goes to the whole staff at Journey to New Life, and I will accept it in their name. God bless you all, and thank you all. I know all who are listening and watching have had some part in some mission of Christ's work and spreading the good news. And that's what we share in this Easter season. Sorry I can't be with you, and I hope someday that we will meet and share our stories together. Thank you.
I would think he might laugh at me. I would think I would call him centered. He's centered, he's joyful, he expresses God's love in who he is to any dear neighbor, no matter who they are. And that's what the CSJs are about. That's what this award is about. I really don't know who asked him to be an associate. It was not myself, but someone did. And Kay Komodos, the head of our associate program, called me and said that Dan wanted me as his sponsor.
I think being an associate I wanted to do something more consistent, weekly, that was ongoing.
Dan and I got to know each other, and I always had heard of Winkelmann's Pharmacy. I didn't really know much. In terms of the Sisters of St. Joseph, the Winkelmanns has been providing medications at a discount for 105 years, probably.
One of the things I do that kind of is helpful is I do help the sisters with their medicine out at Nazareth. And it's learning the best treatment or the best medications or whatever for each individual person and trying to review that.
There's just so many things that he's done. It's hard to say, but he has such a loving, generous heart. He has gone to Nepal.
It was really interesting. The first year I went, I came back so depressed and so bummed out. We're like one little drop in the ocean of problems over there. And it kind of was really depressing. And I ended up coming back to the United States in St. Louis and had a real hard time readjusting back to the real world, if you will. Second year I went with a different aspect. It was more about the service and giving and trying to help the people that were there, because I already knew what the food was like. I knew what the travel was going to be like. I knew all those question mark things. And for me to be a part of the service and actually serve was really awesome.
And they go for 3 weeks. So it's a rugged 3 weeks. And meeting all those demands of people, I can just visualize lines of people coming. And he gets all of those donations, I'm sure, from his pharmacy friends.
Then the next year I went, and this year I brought 2 students from the College of Pharmacy. And it was fun watching it through their eyes and see their excitement and enthusiasm for it and their motivation to want to help. So I've gone a total of 5 times. I'm getting ready to go again in October of this year again.
Life for him is not about him. Life for him is about other people. And that's how he lives his life.
The CSJs have always been dear to my heart. I mean, forever and forever. I've always seen what they do for other people. It's never about money per se. It's about service. It's about trying to bring goodness to people, lifting them up.
One of my favorite parts of being a sister of St. Joseph is always moving to the more. And I think that he too is always moving to the more. What else can I do? What can I give to this world?
Obviously, it's an honor to be honored, but that's not something I traditionally look for in life. I'm a little embarrassed by it, I think, a little bit, but I think part of the reason for me being a part of this is maybe to have more people be aware of the CSJs.
And he just spreads God's love in who he is. And like I said, he affirms people. And everybody needs to be lifted up in this day and age.
Thank you to the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet for this award. I'm humbled and honored to receive this award. My whole life has been a person of service. I've been a person of service. And it comes really second nature to me. My parents, Dan and Kathy, are great examples of loving service to their dear neighbor without distinction. I want to thank them for their example. My brothers and sisters, each in their own way, serve and invited me to serve with them. My 2 aunts, Linda and Sandy, live in a life of service to everyone they meet. Thank you for your example as well. My career as a pharmacist gives me many opportunities to be generous, financially and otherwise. Thanks to all my KTF friends in Nepal for allowing me to serve with you and for you as a healthcare provider. Many of my longest and dearest friends are folks that I've met while serving. We started our friendships in some way, maybe on parish council or on a board, or doing an auction or a raffle or building a home or teaching or doing some kind of healthcare. Thank you for your example. I've never thought of service as something I had to do. It's always been something I wanted to do. I enjoy being with folks who serve, and I'm most comfortable being serving as opposed to being served. Thank you for all letting me serve and giving me the opportunity to serve. Once again, thank you for this kind award.
Congratulations to our honorees, and thank you so much for all the important work that you do. At this point in our program, I would like to take an opportunity to let you all know of a ministry need and how you can support this life-saving work. This is an opportunity for everyone to learn a little bit more about our border ministry and how you can help support that effort. Here to tell you more about it is Sister Maureen Freeman, who recently returned from volunteering at the border.
We talk about our border ministry, and actually I'm in a way delighted and saddened to say it's expanded. 3 of us drove down to El Paso. We worked at Annunciation House, which has the Casa de Refugiados, which is basically a huge warehouse. At one time in history, they had over 600 people there on a daily basis. This time, not as many as we had hoped for. The most we had was one night, we had 85 people for supper. They can't hold as many because of the COVID restrictions. So they have to separate 6 feet between families.
But our job, the three of us, Sister Sandra and JoAnn and I, was the clothing room. And it was a disaster. And I like to say, if there's chaos, give it to the sisters and we'll straighten it out. But we heard about Laredo. Catholic Charities has a site there. I've seen poverty in my life, but there is a tent in the yard for the COVID positive people. There's no room big enough at the center where they can sit down and have a meal. Meals are served out in the yard. Registration is taken out in the yard. Each bedroom has 3 queen-size beds. Each bed is for a different family. So I think Laredo will now become more of a focus, not that we will abandon Annunciation House. That's always going to be our primary place, but Laredo really, really needs our help. The people in St. Louis and the Sisters and Associates gave us so many things. When we put out a list of necessities to take in the van, we probably had 3 van loads. And it wasn't just all our Sisters and Associates. The woman from the Jewish Association was here as well, and someone from the diocese. It's like, okay, we're doing it for our community to another community. And the other, I'm sorry, realistic thing is I need money. At Laredo, the biggest thing is clothing. We brought down a little over $600 worth of clothing that was gone pretty much in one day. We purchased over $200 worth of shoes, and I am sure they were gone within 2 days. So it's replenishing those supplies. Well, this is their first step in seeking asylum, and that's getting across the border, getting a shower, getting clean clothes, having the opportunity to call their family or sponsors, and then get to the city that they're going to. This is just the first step. The biggest question that we hear from people is, why are they coming? Why don't they stay in their own country? They're taking our jobs. And this poem was written by Warsan Shire. She's a Syrian refugee. And I think she explains it quite beautifully. You only leave home when home won't let you stay. You have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well. These people have run to us, and we need to respond.
That concludes our program for this year. On behalf of all of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet, I would like to thank you for joining us. Also, I'd like to thank the sponsors listed in your event guide for their generous support of this event. As we end our program, we typically send our guests on their way by having all Sisters and Associates present sing Sante Joseph. In keeping with that tradition, here is Sante Joseph. May God bless you all, and thank you.